Welcome back to KD&D, the show where we talk all things Dungeons & Dragons. Today I want to talk to you guys about a challenge that is circulating around the Dungeons & Dragons community online, and that is challenge #Dungeon23. To put it simply, Dungeon 23 is a challenge that each individual is taking on to create over the year 2023 a mega dungeon. This challenge was first originated by Sean McCoy on their Substack over here. They are the creator of a tabletop role-playing game called Mothership, which is more of a sci-fi theme. I will put a link to this page in the description down below. He has a really good article kind of outlining the concept of the challenge and giving you some advice as well as some resources that will help you if you decide to take this up. If you create one room a day over the next year, you will have a dungeon comprised of 365 rooms. Break those rooms up into the 12 months we have. You can make 12 levels, and that is your personal mega dungeon. Mega dungeons harken back to the origins of our beloved hobby. The original form of Dungeons & Dragons involves nothing more than exploring dungeons with the occasional trip back to town where you did nothing but sell off your loot, collect gold, and buy some more items to go back into the dungeon. Exploring the ins and outs of a mega dungeon could last an entire campaign. You could take a group that you're currently running and drop the mega dungeon somewhere in your world, and that could be the next arc or two of things. You don't have to be limited to just one big bad at the end of a dungeon either. You could have multiple different factions and multiple different baddies inside of this dungeon that make for a very engaging couple of levels of play. So if this sounds interesting to you and you're thinking about taking up the Dungeon 23 challenge, I have a couple of pieces of advice that will get you started. The first thing you're going to want to do is find a way for you to record your mega dungeon. Some people might do this digitally by writing down notes in a Google Doc. Other people might draw it out on a website like Roll20 or some other map-making website and then compile it all together at the end of the year. For myself, and to kind of keep it as pure to the original hobby as well, there are people out there that are using journals to record their daily dungeon rooms, and I'll show you what mine looks like. So I picked up a True Red dotted journal. I just grabbed this at the local Staples and it cost less than $15, not too bad. And this is an entire journal where each page is just dotted space. All right? Pretty simple. If you ever used a dot journal before, they're kind of fun. They can allow for a lot of creativity and you can really mold the pages to have exactly what you want. And it's perfect for drawing a dungeon room. If you're looking to spend a little bit more money and you don't feel like going through the process of drawing out all of the individual lines that you want to use to write your text, there is a journal that is floating around, and that's called the Hobonichi journal. I'll show you what that looks like. So here we have the Hobonichi Techno Journal. This is a Japanese-made company, but there are English versions of the journal. And you can see here on the left-hand side of the page, they break it down the week by days. On the right-hand side, they have graph paper. So this is perfect for this particular challenge. If you want to draw the room over here and then write out your notes for the corresponding day right here, it should keep things nice and simple. Some videos that I've seen out there have commented on the fact that when you're writing with a journal like this, if you are writing and you're right-handed like myself, by the time you get to this side of the page, you're kind of getting into the corner of the journal, and that can make for some difficult text. And that is one of the reasons why I decided to, one, save a little bit of money, and two, use the dot journal because it really allows you to make it the way you want. So on the right-hand side of my journal is where I'm putting my notes. I drew out 4 different days because that's what I could fit easily onto my journal. And on the left-hand side is where I am drawing out the rooms. I'm filming this on January 2nd, so I have 2 rooms in my journal thus far. Looking ahead into the month, I did do 4 days on each page, and then after 3 different pages, so after 12 rooms, I left a blank space for notes so that before going back to the same format. This way, if I figure out like on a certain room, I need more space for notes, I don't have to bog down and scribble into the margins. I can just flip 3 pages ahead and write down some notes. But the whole point of this is to spark your own creativity. You don't need to spend a bunch of money on a journal, and you don't need to format your journal the same way that I have or the way that the Hobonichi journal is set up. If you just have lined paper or a book full of graph paper, that's perfect. It's just about getting some ideas onto paper and having something to show for your time. The final piece of advice I have for you is to remember that randomizers and roll tables are your friend. Nothing about this challenge says that 100% of the ideas that you put down into your journal are straight from your brain. There's nothing wrong with going online, finding another dungeon room that inspires you that day, or just looking through roll tables to find some adjectives and some room descriptors that give you inspiration to add to the next room. The community is full of people who have made roll tables that will help you make this dungeon possible. Just go to YouTube and search for Dungeon 23, and there's already a ton of channels talking about this. Another thing to look for is going to Google and search for dungeon generators. One of the go-to ones is Don John, a great generator for Dungeons and Dragons. You can see here that their generator has a ton of different drop downs and sizes that you can choose from that make your dungeon as unique as you want it to be. Click the button for a random dungeon and it gives me 4 rooms here. And each of the 4 rooms has wandering monsters suggested, a general description, descriptions of each of the 4 rooms. This is perfect if you have a day in the next year, and I'm sure they will come, where you just can't think of a dang thing. Go to a generator, find something that will inspire you. At the end of the day, this is meant to be fun. This is something that you can set for yourself as a specific goal that you can measure your progress with over time. If you want to keep yourself accountable to this, comment below that you're going to make a mega dungeon, and then figure out where on socials you can post your stuff. I will be posting my daily dungeons onto my TikTok, and I will probably make the occasional video here on the YouTube channel updating you guys on my progress. Challenge yourself, but always remember to keep it realistic. If 1 room a day sounds like it's going to be too much for you, or a couple months from now you fall behind, there is no shame in going down to 1 room a week, because even if you do that, you will have 52 rooms by the end of the year, and that's awesome. I'm very excited to see what the community comes up with over the next couple of years. If you want to hear more about my 2023 Mega Dungeon, drop something in the comments below and I'll know to make more videos in this series. But until then, drop a like, a comment, and a subscribe, and happy dungeon crawling. On that note, the community is lousy with a bunch of people who have their own different roll tables for room.